Welcome to State Scoop TV. I'm Jake Williams. My guest here is Joanne Hale. She's the Acting Secretary of Information Technology in the state of Alabama. Joanne, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Jake.
So Joanne, we are here at the NASCIO Midyear Conference in Crystal City, Virginia. What are your main priorities coming out of this conference? What are your main priorities and focuses for the year ahead, and how have they changed over the last year?
Well, I'll start with the changes. I don't think our priorities have changed that much as I've added additional priorities, and here's why. Last year when I spoke with you, my agency, the Office of Information Technology, responsible for IT governance, policy, and planning. But I was not responsible for the service delivery. And that worked well from 2013 to now because it took us that long to really establish a direction and a set of priorities. But now, because we're ready, we are also taking on IT service delivery, meaning executing the strategy. So I still have the same priorities I had before, but now I have to worry about the priorities of one, customer service, making sure that our agencies are well served by technology. I have to also add transparency to make sure that if they send OIT $1, I can tell them exactly where it went and why. Statewide cybersecurity, we have greater responsibility for that on the operational side, and then cost control. So I've got those additional priorities as well as all the things that we talked about last time.
And so with a department that's growing and changing at the speed that yours is, tell me about your enterprise visioning process and how do you plan on and execute these big projects?
Okay. We have a pretty good project governance process that we've developed over the last 18 months since I've taken this role. So once we have a project that has already been identified, has already been judged as a go, then we have a fairly robust governance process to ensure that it stays on track and it meets the initial expectations that the clients had for it. What we didn't have was how do we determine what our priorities are and what that initial project portfolio should be. Today, I would say that's still more informal than I'd like it to be.
Sure.
Right now, it's happening through interactions with our CIO council, the agency CIOs, with our security council, the agency CISOs, and the governor's cabinet. Ongoing conversations and communications between myself and those groups. But still, there isn't a really effective, structured project portfolio management process in place, and we're working on that right now. So hopefully a year from now I'll be able to give you much more detail about how we're doing that and making sure that we are prioritizing the right projects appropriately.
These interviews keep building on each other.
That's
I like
right.
That. That's
That's
good.
right.
And so, at conferences like these, we tend to use a lot of buzzwords, right?
Right.
We talk a lot about innovation, and we talk about all these things. What's the biggest buzzword you find yourself getting tired of, and how are you channeling the ideas that represents into some action?
Okay. That's a tough one because there's several buzzwords that I would like to strike from the English language. The one that I think I've been thinking about the most lately is cloud. Okay. Because cloud is sort of, it's the panacea, it's the golden bullet, it's the silver bullet, it's going to solve all of our problems for us. We used to call it outsourcing, today we're calling it cloud, right? So how are we trying to use it? And we are moving a number of things to the cloud. We're already using cloud for office productivity tools, Office 365. We use cloud-based solutions for a lot of things that's supporting our customers and our clients. So it's not that I don't want to move to the cloud, It's just that it's a buzzword. It has become if you don't know how to sell it, if you don't know how to make the business case, just call it cloud.
Right.
And so what we're really trying to do is just move beyond the buzzword and simply say, what's the right platform for this situation for today and the state's needs, and if that leads us to a cloud-based provider, and it often does, we're doing it, but we're doing it because of what the state needs and
Right.
where we are, not because we've got to go to the cloud.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. And you talked about your agency CIO council.
Right.
How are you working to collaborate outside the boundaries of your agency, and what have some of the challenges that have come along with that?
Okay, and I think I spoke about the CIO council, using the cabinet, using our security council, and those are great ways to collaborate outside of the agency, and that's really my job. My job, first and foremost, is to understand what the agencies need and how technology has to be employed to serve their needs. The biggest challenge is that rarely do they tell me what I want them to tell me, right?
Right.
And my job has to be to listen to them, even when they tell me something that I'd rather they not say,
Right.
And so I try to meet with the agency heads, whether they're cabinet level agencies or not. I try to meet with them on a rotating basis every 2 to 3 months. And I have to listen to them and recognize that they may have different ideas about how technology needs to serve them, and it has to be a conversation about how do we meet their needs as well as the state's priorities.
Right.
So that's the biggest challenge, is I can't get them to give me answers that are easy for me and make my job easier.
Yeah. That sounds like something we hear from across the board with several folks. Last question, emerging technology. We hear a lot about emerging technology,
Right.
and even just in the year that since you and I have talked,
Right.
Emerging technology is kind of changing the game.
Right.
How has emerging technology changed the way that your state solves problems and delivers
Right.
services?
I think there are point solutions that are really tremendous examples of using emerging technology. And not to take away from other agencies, but for example, our Department of Revenue is an avid innovator when it comes to technology, being able to use technology for the taxpayers to save them time and protect their identity. But I still have to come back and say, right now, emerging technologies is not where I'm spending a lot of my time and energy, because I've got to get some fundamentals right. And the good thing is we're making tremendous progress, particularly given now that IT service delivery I have responsibility for. I can integrate and tie the strategy and policy with the execution, and now we're able to move much faster. So I believe it's only a matter of time before I can come back and say, here are some great ways that we are innovating and incorporating emerging technologies statewide.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that conversation.
Great.
Joanne, thanks for being with us
Thanks,
today.
Jake. Appreciate it.
For more on what Joanne's doing in the great state of Alabama, check out statescoop.com and subscribe to the Daily Scoop newsletter. Again, I'm here with Joanne Hale, the Acting Secretary of Information Technology for Alabama. I'm Jake Williams, State Scoop's Manager of Strategic Initiatives. Thanks for watching.